All right, guys, today is the last day of us categorizing numbers. So we're going to take a look at those uncomfortable numbers. What if it's a fraction, a square root, a percent? Sometimes it could be a symbol like pi. So first, we're going to take a look at some of the ways to handle those numbers. So if we're looking at a fraction, we're going to divide to convert that number to make a little bit more sense of it. If it is a square root, we have a square root function on calculators, so we can put that right into the calculator using the button, square root, and simplify it. Pi is a famous type of number, but we can also use the button on a calculator to convert it. And last but not least, percents. When we are looking to convert percents, we're going to divide that number by 100. So let's shoot down to some examples. Actually, one more thing to point out in here at the top, it says if your answer, when you put it in the calculator, when you figure out your answer, if it is a normal kind of comfortable number, right, we're going to go back up like we did day one and ask ourselves those basic number questions. Is it a natural number? Is it a whole number? Is it an integer? If it is a decimal answer, then again, we're going to ignore those three simple buckets and we're going to jump right down to rational, irrational, figure it out, and drop it in. Okay? So there is something to be said about what do we do with our answers. All right, so let's take a look at that example. The first one is 3/5. So you can see I have a calculator on my desktop here. Make sure you can see that. There we go. So the negative 3/5. So again, a fraction is simply division. So I'm going to put in negative 3 divided by 5, and I get the answer of negative 0.6. So negative 0.6. Guys, and if you're having a hard time navigating, I know not all of you have a graphing calculator. You may have a basic calculator. You may be using the calculator on your phone. Some of you did let me know what you have available, but if you're struggling in any sense to put in some of these different symbols, please reach out and I'll work with you individually. So negative 0.6. Well, it's not a decimal. Well, it is a decimal. Sorry, it is a decimal. So it is not a normal number. I'm going to right down off the bat, jump down to rational, irrational. So remember, decimals that have a clear end or a pattern to them are considered rational. So if I look at this one, negative 0.6, it is a ending decimal, a terminating decimal. So it would be rational, and remember it drops down through that hole in the bottom of the bucket to real. So this type of number is rational and real. So the real only difference is this time you're going to be getting some uncomfortable numbers and we're looking to convert them. So square root of 36, again, if you're on your phone, if you turn it sideways, you should see that button. There is the button on the calculator phone, or I'm sorry, the computer calculator. You might have a traditional blue calculator at home, which also has that symbol. So most calculators do have the square root symbol. So on mine, I'm going to go ahead and say square root of 36, and I get 6. All right, so those are the kind of numbers we like, right? The numbers that we're most comfortable with. So I just did that to show you that it converts down to 6. And because it is a basic number, guys, it's one of those more comfortable numbers. We're going to start at the top here, and we're going to ask ourselves, is it a natural number? Now I'm talking about my answer, right? 6. Is that a natural counting number? Did you start out learning how to count 6? You did. So it is a natural, whole, integer, rational, boom, hits the bottom, it's a real number. So this one, square root of 36, actually has a lot of different descriptors. So it's a natural, whole, integer, rational, and real. That's a lot. All right, let's talk about percent. So the next one is 65%. So when we're looking at percents, if you forget, going back up to the top, percents, we're going to divide by 100. So we're going to take 65 and divide by 100. And you should see the answer of 0.65. 0.65. So not a natural, I mean, not a simple number, not the ones that we really like, right? It's a decimal. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to nix off the first basic kind of descriptors. We're jumping right down to rational, irrational. So we're going to ask ourselves, is it a nice clean decimal or have a pattern? It does, right? It's a terminating decimal. So if I was going to shoot my bucket, I'd go into rational and down to real. So this one is actually the same as up here. So I'm going to copy and paste down to here. 65% is a rational and real number. The last one here is pi. Here's our last example. So again, you should have a Possibly, maybe this one might be one that you don't have on all calculators, but most calculators do. If not, you can Google what pi is, or you can come back to this video. Pi is a very famous type of number, and it is, my typing tool here. When we put in the calculator, answer is 1.141592654. And although you don't see it, ... It goes on forever. It is one of the most famous numbers. Ironically enough, there are competitions that people try to memorize the pages and pages and endless pages of numbers of decimals afterwards. There's no pattern to them, so they're just remembering crazy numbers. So I definitely don't know too many. I know 3.14, but I do know that it is irrational because there is no pattern to this craziness nonsense. If you go on, and if you're interested, look it up. It is a crazy, crazy decimal, but it's one of the most famous. So it is irrational and it's real. So to categorize it here, there is an example of a number that can be described as irrational and real. So following this lesson here, you are going to go ahead and complete the activity. There's going to be sections that you're going to be able just to look at the number, and it may be just a regular number. It may be a decimal, or it may also be this new stuff, the fraction, the square root, the percents, the pi. So you're going to see this on there, but I'm going to throw a couple other numbers at you that you did earlier this week, just as kind of also a review. So good luck in identifying your number types. If you need any help, let me know. And you should reference that picture of the graphic organizer. Hopefully you took day 2 of this week so that you can reference it when you're completing your assignment. Good luck.